This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
Municipalities all over Nevada have been banning retail pet sales over the past few years. Now, a bill is in front of the legislature to address illegal breeders and overcrowded shelters on a state level. So today on CityCast Las Vegas, I sit down with Dana Gentry, investigative reporter at the Nevada Current, to figure out if a statewide pet store ban will help or hurt animals in Nevada. It's Monday, April 14th. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. So Dana, to give our listeners some context, can you tell me why there has been a recent focus on banning not pet sales, animal sales in Clark County?
Well, I think that probably stems from the overpopulation problem that we have and the overcrowded shelters and a desire to direct people to those shelters to adopt rather than to purchase animals in pet stores. And, not that they are not deserving of good homes. They are, but I think the idea is to kind of cut off the supply from the puppy mills that operate largely in the Midwest of the United States. Mm-hmm. And these puppies are transported all over the country in not great conditions. And, that's after leaving these puppy mills where they live their short lives as in not good conditions either.
So adopt, don't shop, as the shelters and things will tell you. And just to be clear, are we talking about all pets or just like cats and dogs? Is there like a hamster sales ban out there?
No, it's cats, dogs, and potbelly pigs that the municipalities have outlawed. So,
Dean, I didn't expect the pig ban. That one did surprise me. So our shelters are overcrowded. I see it all the time. It's kitten season, as they're saying on Instagram, too. What does overcrowding look like in terms of our animal shelters, which do take in not just dogs and cats, but primarily dogs and cats?
Well, thousands of animals are being killed at the Animal Foundation, which is the largest government-funded shelter in Southern Nevada. That doesn't even count Henderson, Boulder City. And Henderson has had to euthanize for space now. They prided themselves as a no-kill shelter.
Yeah, on their website it said like less than 1% animals were euthanized, which means they qualify as a no-kill shelter. But that is changing due to overcrowding.
That's no longer the case, unfortunately. Also, the government shelters just are not funded adequately. They're in less than optimum conditions, facilities, and Henderson, for instance, the animals are in outside kennels, which, in this weather, when it starts getting warm, it's just kind of miserable. And the lack of funding kind of puts a lot of pressure on rescues. Rescues, as you know, are made up of volunteers. And these people, God love them, spend their own money to rescue these animals and to try to get them into homes. And I just think it's unfortunate that our governments are willing to rely on these rescues to carry so much of the burden. So I think anything they can do to alleviate that burden is good. Also, we've got a huge backyard breeding problem. We've got a lot of people who are in apartments and who leave, and suddenly an indoor cat becomes an outdoor cat because they don't take it with, or they leave their dog, they abandon their dog. That happens all the time. The other thing that happens in multifamily housing is that landlords charge pet fees, pet rent.
Here. Pet applications. It's even hard to find housing where they will allow you to apply with a pet too.
Right. And then they have, it's illegal to discriminate against breeds. So what they'll say is nothing over 40 pounds.
Yep. I've seen that too. Yep.
Yeah. So, you can go to any shelter and you will see pit bulls, you'll see German shepherds, you'll see Siberian huskies. These are gorgeous dogs, but
Yeah.
there just is, the larger they are, unfortunately, the harder it is to find a home for them. But that's not to say that shelters aren't also not full of small dogs. They are. They are full of Chihuahuas, which have
Yeah.
been overbred because I guess still, the remnants of the Paris Hilton craze and when she carried the dogs around in the
That's
purse and stuff
interesting.
like that. So,
I have this strange observation here in Las Vegas in that I moved here from New York City and I see way more fancy cats in the shelters than I have anywhere else I've lived. Ragdolls, Siamese, Persians, hairless cats even. Like these are expensive breeds and it's so unusual to see them ending up in shelters. So I don't know if you can speak to that, but I imagine it's the unique combination of things that you already mentioned.
yeah. And to me, any cat in a shelter is a tragedy because my cats, I can tell you, would be terrified in a shelter, even though they
Yeah.
have been in my home for, 12 years. They just would be absolutely terrified. And unfortunately, shelters don't always have the ability to discern between a scared domestic cat and a stray because of the behaviors they exhibit in a shelter. My cats could easily be mistaken as feral cats because one is 26 pounds and he's a
It's a
big
lot of
fraidy
cat
cat. Yeah, but when he, hisses at somebody because he's terrified, he could be quite imposing. So it's just a really, really difficult problem. And, the other thing is that the Animal Foundation, because it was getting so much heat for killing cats, has just taken to, if they get a call from somebody where a cat is out near a home and looks possibly friendly, they'll just send somebody out. And rather than keeping that cat and trying to find an owner or trying to find a home for it, they will just spay or neuter the animal and then drop it off back where they found it, which is
Trap, neuter, release. Yeah, which is good for a feral cat. That's their home, but not
yeah,
for a
it's
friendly.
it's I like to say it's the best of the bad options for feral cats, but
Yeah,
for a cat that has been abandoned and doesn't know how to survive on its own and
yeah.
really needs a home, it's just a tragedy. So that is the state we are in.
Yeah, and I've heard people give a lot of hate to humans who abandon their pets, but like shit happens. Like you were saying, especially here in Vegas, our housing situation is not great. There's deaths in the family. We've talked about this before, but most shelters will allow you to surrender with no questions asked. But of course, we're talking here about the overcrowding in those shelters too. So
Yeah.
it's problems on problems on problems.
I know my opinion doesn't really matter. However, I would like to say I have a little bit of a different take on
Go
that.
ahead.
There are a lot of people who impulse buy or impulse adopt. And unlike your children, your animals are never going to grow up and become responsible
Mm-hmm.
and be able to fend for themselves. It is truly a lifelong commitment, a commitment for as long as their lives last. And so I would just like to, for what it's worth, encourage people to say no unless you are absolutely committed. I'd rather see that animal wait another few days, another
Yeah.
week or so for a good home.
Hey, I get that, but financial situations change too. So, I
Yeah.
think that this law is also looking at, like you said, how do we provide better support to these shelters, that the state should be involved in this as well.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new next-gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well-organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
So where are we with the pet store bans in the Las Vegas Valley?
Well, right now, Clark County, unincorporated Clark County, has had a ban since 2022. North Las Vegas, I believe, has had a ban. Henderson does not have a ban. It enacted an ordinance last year that allows current pet stores to continue selling. But if you went to Henderson today and opened a pet store, you would not be able to sell. And the city of Las Vegas does not have a ban. So, as you know, people don't know in Southern Nevada whether they are in Clark County, North Las Vegas, Henderson. And so, as long as you can drive a few miles to a pet store and buy an animal, it's really kind of an exercise in futility. And that's why the state legislation, I believe, is important to the people who support it.
Okay, so we're still seeing signs for pet stores around the valley for a variety of reasons. So is the city of Las Vegas refusing to implement a pet sale ban?
Yes, they did briefly in 2017, I want to say, and then rescinded it. You may remember Michelle Fiore, the city councilman.
I do.
She was one of the people who voted against it, as was Carolyn Goodman. There's a well-known lobbyist named Jay Brown who represents some of the pet stores, and he was able to work his magic and prevent a ban in the city. So that's a problem. And, you know, there was recently there was a horrible hoarding incident that was discovered last year, in which a woman and a man had live and dead animals in their home and moved. When they found out that animal control officials were visiting their home, they moved some of them to a hotel room. So there were live and dead animals in the hotel room.
Oh, my God.
They had them in their car. They tried to leave. And Gina Greason of Nevada Voters for Animals followed them out to Boulder City until she could get somebody to pull them over. They had dozens of gerbils in their car, some of them alive, some of them dead. But the tragedy in that case was that a number of the animals were purchased at a pet store in Summerlin. And there's evidence that the people who worked there were aware of the abundance of animals being purchased by these people and that they were not thriving. So
why is there a refusal to implement this pet sale ban? It's just like the pet store lobby, or what's going on?
Well, you know, there's a hesitance among city council people who rely on campaign contributions to upset the people who contribute to their campaigns. And as I said, powerful lobbyists. So I think the state ban would go a long way in fixing the problem.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, it's the same opponents of the statewide ban, right? We've got pet stores, we've got lobbyists, and they're saying that a statewide ban will increase backyard breeding. Do you think that's true? Is this going to create more problems with backyard breeders?
Well, it could, but, you know, the local governments have a lot of resources to go after backyard breeders if they chose to do so. I mean, these people sell their animals on social media, right? They're on Craigslist and they're on Facebook. And so if I see the ads, I'm sure that regulators, law enforcement would be able to see them as well and track them down. Right now, though, the penalties for backyard breeding are just basically the cost of doing business for breeders who are selling puppies for thousands of dollars each. So you've got to make it financially not feasible for them to stay in business if they're going to do that.
I mean, is it explicitly illegal, or is there licensing that can be obtained to breed?
There is licensing, yeah, but a lot of the backyard breeders don't have licenses. When we talk about backyard breeders, generally we're talking about unlicensed breeders.
Do you think that we'll just see people traveling out of state then to buy, purebred whatever puppies from a puppy mill as opposed to buying them in state if this ban is effective?
Well, the entire Western coast has prohibited pet sales in stores. So, you could drive to other states, I'm sure, and find them. What I just find disturbing is that there are people, there was one of the lawmakers who heard this bill a few weeks ago said, I was out looking for a dog and we went to a shelter, but I really wanted a small dog. So we went to a pet store. A state lawmaker who should be aware of the problems that are going on and the overpopulation issues, you would think that they would be maybe inclined to look harder at the shelters. There are, in addition to the shelters, all of these rescues. Many of them specialize in certain kinds of animals. There are rescues for Dobermans. There are rescues for Chihuahuas, rescues for Havanese, rescues for poodles. If you put in the effort to find an animal, you can find what you want. I would suggest if you're not in it to help the animal that you're going to take home, don't even bother. What's the point? So it really shouldn't be about your ego and the kind of animal you want. It should be about trying to give a home to that animal.
So if someone is looking for a specific breed, like let's say they need an animal that's hyperallergenic, or they live in one of these apartment buildings where they have to have a smaller animal, you mentioned if you're looking for a specific breed, going to a rescue that specializes with that. Are there other options for people looking for a specific breed of cat or dog or pig?
Yeah, you could go to a shelter and find pretty much anything you want. But if you don't, those rescues are there for that purpose. So, and the search mechanisms are pretty easy. There are localized, websites that will do the searching for you within 100, 200 mile radius. So it shouldn't be that difficult. There are other options. Even the hypoallergenic cats, I'm pretty sure you can find those in those situations as well.
So just to be clear, there are licensed breeders. Not everyone who's breeding at home is a legal breeder. But, if we wanted to, how would you find someone who is a licensed breeder?
The licensed breeders advertise in the same places that the unlicensed breeders advertise. So I think if you are looking on social media for a pet and you go to a breeder, ask for their license, look it up. Verify that they are licensed. And then at least you would have some recourse if something goes wrong, and you can, file a complaint against their license if they haven't done what they're supposed to do with veterinary checks and that sort of thing. So
if this bill passes the legislature, do you think shelters are going to take on a new role in our community?
No. I wish. That would be awesome. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make that big of a dent. You would like to think if somebody goes to a pet store and pays $3,000 or $4,000 for a puppy, that puppy's not going to end up in a shelter. Not that they don't. The shelters get plenty of purebred puppies who were sold from pet stores. But I just think the vast majority of animals who are abandoned or lost and end up in shelters probably don't come from pet stores.
So what can we do to support our local animal shelters here in the Las Vegas Valley?
Adopt, take care of your animals, make sure they are chipped. The most important thing you can do is neuter and spay.
Yeah.
That,
And chipping's required by law now, too.
It is, but, if you're going to chip, then you have to register the chip and keep it up to date and things like that. So I'm not necessarily sure that that's a panacea. That we have mandatory spay-neuter laws. It's illegal to have an animal that is over 4 months old and not spayed or neutered. So that is the most important thing you can do, and support organizations that ensure those animals are spayed and neutered, such as Heaven Can Wait, which is a low-cost spay-neuter clinic. Hearts Alive Village just opened a new spay and neuter clinic on the east side of town, which I'm sure will be a bonanza for people in that area. But yeah, the most important thing you can do is be a responsible pet owner yourself. Keep your animals inside. In Henderson, it's illegal to let your animals roam, but because of the trap, neuter, and release laws in other jurisdictions, cats are allowed to roam freely. Even owned cats are allowed to roam freely. And as much as you want your cats to enjoy the outdoors and be able to roam, all you need is one night where they don't come home and you're outside shaking the box of cat food and meowing to them to make you reevaluate your priorities. So get a catio, get a cat door with a catio, and let them enjoy the sun.
At least train my boy. So we recently did a roundup of ways to help people that are facing financial difficulties who are pet owners. You mentioned some of the great low-cost medical care and spay-neuter clinics. A lot of the rescues around the city have pet food banks. Homeward Bound also has a pet supplies table. Like, they put all kinds of donations on there from like toys and cat trees and beds and stuff too. So like, if you need help, there are places you can definitely go before you feel like you're in a place where you abandoned your animal too. And Dana, I recently started volunteering at a shelter too. I started volunteering at Homeward Bound, taking photos of their cats. So also, look into volunteer opportunities and foster opportunities. Dana, you mentioned that sometimes animals are stressed in the shelter and they do much better in a home environment. That's exactly where fosters can step into. So if you want a little temporary cat, fostering might be for you. So we're going to link to that roundup of resources in the show notes too, if anybody needs help with their animals. Dana, thank you so much. This is a tough subject, but I'm so glad you're reporting on it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for volunteering. I hope more people will follow your example.
I mean, it's a dream volunteer job, Dana. I just go and photograph cats for a morning. I'd never felt more relaxed than after the first time I did it, but I'm also looking to foster.
And if somebody is looking for a chill cat, the best place if you can find a cat that's chill in a shelter, you've hit the jackpot. So take it home, right?
Yeah. Both Hearts Alive Animal Village has a cat cafe where you can go and meet all the cats chilling together. And Homeward Bound is set up, interestingly, in an old dental office. And so each one of the old little operating room offices is now like a mini cat cafe. And you can just go there and meet the cats face to face. Find one that's relaxed. My dad always says, find one that comes to you. But the one that stole my heart was the one that I was a little shy and I had to win over. Didn't adopt her, but posted about her, and then she got adopted next week. Good luck, Buttercup. I know you're out there somewhere. I love cats, obviously. I love animals. So thank you for doing this, Dana.
Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed our show, tell a friend, adopt an animal, rate this show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. Like I said, we're going to link to resources to help out you and your pets in the show notes. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.